Welcome back, everybody. Let's get to it.
What's up, everybody? I'm your girl, Michael.
And I'm ready.
Welcome back to another episode of Sippin' with the Simpkins. We are moving on into season 2, the middle, building, balancing, and becoming. You ready? The theme is life in your 30s and 40s, parenting a young adult, redefining marriage, careers, identity, and family roles. That's
a lot to unpack.
That's a lot to unpack, but that's season 2.
Okay.
You
ready? Hope y'all ready.
Let's get to it. Today's episode is parenting an adult child, aka he's grown.
Kind of.
And that's exactly the flavor of the last 2 weeks, right? Like he's walked in here and I've observed some things that are clearly, I'm grown.
Grown folk business.
And I'm just like, this ain't balancing out for me.
Either you're going to be grown or you're not.
You're going to be grown or you're not. There's no middle. And I keep telling him, one of the main reasons I felt like 2 things. One, when I went to college, my mom was all in it. She was a pop-up. My mom would pop up in high school. I remember I tried to sneak off to the movie with somebody. I don't know how she found out about it, but she was in the back behind me, tapped me on that shoulder. Yes, she was the pop-up. I remember I got home from school one time. I was in the closet cussing up a storm. She was in the closet. I'm cussing up a storm on the phone, cussing this girl out. She in the closet. I was talking to a friend after school. My mom, the car wasn't there, didn't think she was home. College, she would dial me if I wasn't in that dorm room. You best believe.
Pop up.
Or call her back within 30 minutes. I said to our son, either you grown or you not. So when I went to school, my thing was like, I'm gonna not ask her for too much. I gotta figure out my own way, because if I'm gonna be claiming this grownness, this independence, and not having her breathing down my neck, dictating what I'm doing, I gotta figure it out on my own. So that's what I'm trying to tell him. I'm trying to give him a little more leeway. He is young, he is trying to figure out his way. Some of that's to be expected. But we've been having these conversations lately. Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
And things are different with the new generation. They always are. I'm sure there's differences from our parents' generation to ours, and now from ours to our sons. They just operate differently. They think differently. It's interesting to see as our son becomes a young adult, the difference of opinions he has on different things in life. It's
yes.
Like, where did you learn that from? Whoever told you that? Or like, why would you think? Yeah, yes. All of that. So that's interesting. We'll get into a little bit, I guess.
Yes. But it's so different from us, because sometimes we be like, where did this even come from? Where did I not plant the seeds? Where did I not instill this either logic or morals? Sometimes it makes me question the morality of him, some of the stuff that has come out of his mouth from time to time. And where did I miss the mark, and where did I not instill some of those values and morals and integrity and level of respect that I just have innately? Sometimes it blows my mind.
And I think a lot of it is cultural too. Not just cultural in the sense of race or Black folks. I'm talking about cultural meaning the age group. Like his age group culturally just does things differently. You got to remember, I manage people his age. So just their whole logic of thinking and the way they do things is just differently. So what I've seen from other people that transcends a race is they think along the same wavelength, and it's like, where'd that ever come from? So I just think that age group had their own ways of thinking, and I'm sure at some point he has looked at the way we were brought up, the way we do things, the way he was raised, and then as his age group culture realizes, like, well, I'm gonna do it differently, or I'm gonna think differently, or maybe I shouldn't think that way. And he's a free thinker, which is cool, but some things should remain tradition as far as the respect level of things and other things we've discussed personally. But
yeah, I definitely think it's a generational thing. And I also agree that some of it is just their conscious effort to intentionally do things differently. But there are some foundations that need to be maintained that are certainly been lost in this
I'm
generation.
interested to the folks that's watching. If you have children that are in their 20s and early 20s, early adults, what are some things that you've raised them to either think about, or just differences that you notice between the way you would look at things and handle things versus the way they do it nowadays, and you think to yourself, like, where the hell did that ever come from? Like, I've never mentioned that, I've never shown that, I've never perhaps even talked about that, or maybe we did. It's just their own way of growing up and assessing the world and the way they go about things. We'd probably be interested to hearing what you have to say on that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting, because it's two generations. You know, you raise them one way, but they do another. So it's like, and we'll
I'd
get
be
into some of that
curious,
too.
yes.
Yeah,
Then
it's
then maybe
interesting.
maybe I won't feel so bad sometimes, because
I'm sure
sometimes I'm just like,
I'm
what
sure it's not you.
have I not done
Yeah.
or done, or what did I do too loosely? And there's some things that are very
Yeah.
obvious. But anyway, first question of the hour or half hour.
Let's go.
When did we realize we couldn't parent the same way anymore? Like his transition from like just being, you know, from toddler to adolescent to teenager, and then moving into adulthood. When did we realize, when did you realize that you couldn't parent the same way anymore? I'm curious about your response, because I think your response is going to be very different from my purview of when you realized, because I don't know if you've actually realized.
No, I've realized it, but it happens gradually. And I'll just give a few reference points. When he's young and you can tell a child what to do and they listen, then everything's beautiful, right? No, don't, stop is your favorite words, and you raise them accordingly, right? When they start to get to the age where they're free thinkers and they have opinions on things and they develop a smart mouth, you got to switch it up. You go from that to now your child may do what you do and not necessarily what you say. So then you got to switch it up again, because now they're paying attention to what you're doing, and you can start to see their behavior reflect what they've seen you do, not necessarily what you said. It's a weird thing, but all parents end up thinking about that at some point when you see it. Got to be a parent to understand that one. But so it changes, you know, and now that he's an adult, young adult, you manage a little bit differently. You got to back up. You got to say, you know what? We've taught you to be polite, respectful, confident in your abilities, hang around the right folks, staying out of trouble. All of that stuff we teach you growing up, you got to back up now as a young adult and say, you know what? We're going to see him make some mistakes. And I think part of that is his own individual learning. Like, he has to be able to learn those things on his own. As a parent, you want to be able to jump in there and stop him from falling when you see it coming. And sometimes you just got to let them trip and fall, because that's the only way they're going to learn, right? So that's the way you got to manage differently. You're managing from afar, even though you got close fingerprint on what's going on, but you got to let them learn. That's people learn like that. They got to make mistakes. The good thing is he can always come to us for advice, and we'll be there to pick him up when he falls and say, hey, dust yourself off. You got to get back out there and do what you got to do. But here's the lesson behind it. You help them learn that lesson, not necessarily telling them ahead of time what's about to come, because people are hard-headed and people want to do it their own ways, and we were the same way. Some stuff we just got to learn on your own. You just got to be there to pick them up and help them bounce back. It's going to be the key.
I was very mindful of, if somebody was willing to drop a nugget or a seed, I was open to that for the most part. But and I didn't go too far out the realm. Mom, check me on this. She instilled in me, like, I really knew some foundational things that were just not compromised. There's some things as young people that you experience, but in terms of getting outside of the box of what she truly, like, again, going back to that respect, integrity, morality, like all of that, just that was never compromised. It wasn't something that I had to learn. I had always had respect for elders. That being said, I feel like my approach was different. I don't feel like I stepped back at any given time, and I don't think I ever will. I'm curious if you all step back. I just think my approach is a little bit different. I've learned that his communication is different. I've learned that I can't talk at him. He's got to kind of find his way and navigate his way, but I just try to drop seeds where I can and give the advice wherever those nuggets are. But I'm definitely not pulling back in terms of trying to give him guidance when I think he should or shouldn't be doing certain things. Instead of me saying, you shouldn't be drinking or you shouldn't be smoking, I'm like, it's really not good for your health, and everything that you do to your body now is going to impact you 10, 20 years from now. So
Right.
just be mindful of those kinds of things. My approach is a little bit different. So
But it's a good balance that you got your approach, I have my approach, and between the two, he's seeing it from different angles. Communicate a certain way, doesn't work for him, then hopefully yours does.
he tends to stay away from us a lot. He's got his own thing going on. He doesn't spend as much time with us. He texts regularly, but he stays in his space. He's really just discovering himself and trying to sort through his own life. He doesn't seem to be as open to guidance and instruction. I think he stays away because he doesn't want that.
You won't know until you get on the couch.
Yeah. What surprised you most about parenting a young adult?
I guess what surprised me the most is just how he thinks about certain situations in life, and it's so random because we'll be talking about whatever the subject is and he'll give his opinion on it or what he thinks about it. And sometimes it's shocking. And you want to ask more, like, well, why do you think like that? You might ask, what made you think about it in that terms? So I think his own ideas of how life works in different situations is a little bit different. So when you try to give examples of, hey, you should be mindful of this, and he's not mindful of that, it's like, well, why don't you think you should be mindful of X, Y, or Z when we've been there, done that, help you in your approach to figuring things out? But to each their own, right? I got a thing I say, let them live.
You just say let them live.
Let them live, man. You can only say it.
Unless it's something that you feel strongly about.
Oh, yeah.
If you feel strongly about it, you be pissed. Like, what?
I've learned to not take things super personal with
You
him
are
because
learning to take things, not take things super personally. Because I remember we also had some conversations in terms of his career and what he should or shouldn't be doing in pursuance of that. And you're like, why won't he listen to me? Seems like he listens to everybody else. There's a couple of different things and you just can't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. You're like, I got all of this success and he sees that I grind and I did this and I do that and he will not listen to me. And you get
that's frustrating.
It's so
I ain't gonna lie.
But I used to say to you, it's not necessarily that somebody isn't listening to you. Is your problem that they're not doing what you say? You're a little controlling. Listening to you is interpreted like somebody has to do what you say. That's not necessarily true. I struggle with that too. What surprised me most is that I don't always see the same young man that I raised. I get glimpses of it every now and again, but it's like, where is the person that I raised? That surprised me. I appreciate it in a lot of ways because he has a lot of fine qualities that I wish that I had in terms of his creativity, his individualism, his outward and open thinking, his fearlessness in terms of standing up and being in front of crowd, like all of these things. But then again, there's some foundational things that just like the core of who a type of person that I was trying to bring into this world. Like, I don't always see that. And that surprises me. I'm like, where is the person that I raised? And sometimes I wonder if he intentionally decided, because we've had some conversations where he said to me that I used to make him do this. And so he's like, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to be this. Right. So I'm like, is this intentional that you're just going out your way to be extra about some stuff? Or is this like who you're trying to be or who you've become? Nonetheless, who I thought he was going to be is, I just don't see it. And that really surprised me. It's like, where's the glimpses of me and what I instilled in you?
Right. And, life's a journey. Although you don't see it now, you may see it later. And for those who have children that are older than 24 and they may be in their 30s or 40s, then you've seen that growth. You might have thought the same thing that Michael's talking about, but then later on you start to see it come out, maybe when they got a family, maybe when they start raising their own kids, whatever that is, you may have seen that. So I'll be interested in hearing that too. But
what boundaries do you still struggle with?
I think letting them make mistakes. Because I really feel like part of our job as parents is to be able to prevent your child from making the same mistakes you made. And part of your job is to make sure that they're listening to you and that they really value your opinion and value the advice that you're giving them so that they don't make those same mistakes. So when you see them make those mistakes or trending to make those same mistakes, it's a little frustrating. But then you got to step back and say, you know what? He's his own individual and he's going to make mistakes. So I got to be cool with that. I got to be cool with him making mistakes.
When you say mistakes, what are you talking about? Because what mistakes has
Well,
he made? I feel like his journey and where he is in life, he hasn't done a whole lot,
right.
especially in comparisons of other folks his age. So it's not, for me, I don't see mistakes in his life, but I just see like decisions and
Well,
or
yeah, that's
lack
fair.
thereof. You
That's
know
a
what I'm
that's
saying?
yeah.
Like maybe his decisions that he's made or not made have not been in alignment necessarily, but I don't see anything as a
Yeah,
mistake. Your
that's
point,
their
choice.
assessment. That's a fair assessment. Decisions is probably a better word than mistakes, right? Because he's still young and he hasn't made any like super mistakes that's like, oh man, shocking. But decisions. So when you've been talking to your child for years and years, and then they make a decision that goes against everything that you've tried to teach them and show them, then that's where it becomes shocking. And it's like, well, why did you do that? Like I said earlier, you got to step back and say, you know what? That children are going to make mistakes. Even as they come into adulthood, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to make poor decisions. You just got to be there. And as long as these decisions aren't like, doesn't put them in harm or danger or whatever, you got to be there as a parent to say, you know what, I'll pick you up, dust yourself off. You may want to have a conversation about what you learned from that experience. All right, let's try not to make that decision again and just keep it moving. But you got to realize that it's going to happen and you just hope you want to be there for them and make sure, as long as they know you're going to be there for them to help them through tough times. That's what parents do.
I think I'm still struggling with the boundary piece. I don't know that I've ever been super clear about boundaries. And I say that in retrospect, if hindsight was 2020, as they say, because I think I've mentioned in earlier episodes, I've always told Michael, you can say what you want to say as long as you say it respectfully. You can come and talk to me about anything. I've always just really tried to make him as comfortable with a lot of different topics, conversations, and open so that he knew that he could come to me no matter what. I think the one thing that got a little bit uncomfortable with him, and he probably still is a little bit squirmish, is sex, but I didn't want to make things a big deal. I wanted him to understand, like, I'm kind of expect that sex is going to come up in your life at some point. Like, you can come to me and talk to me about it. I want you to be open with that. It's funny how, like, between sex and weed, I remember the first day that he tried weed, he called me and I was at work. The sex situation is still a little bit uncomfortable. That being said, that's my point about boundaries and also the point about him being able to say what he wants to say. He was sometimes, his tongue would get a little spicy and I'm like, that's disrespectful. And I didn't start to feel that way until he was like 13 or 14. So that boundary was just not very clear. And then even now, I think we still kind of struggle with that, where I just don't expect him, me being his elder, his mother,
To say
certain things, and they come out of his mouth, or his responses to people, even like my elders, other people. I can't sometimes believe that he said it. I would never say this to somebody, be it a stranger or family. So those boundaries are just a little bit blurry, and that's the fine line when you're raising children. When you're a child, you're not spoken unless you're spoken to. You leave rooms when adults are talking. You don't really have a voice. And then I went the whole other stream, like my kid is going to have a voice. I also didn't feel like I could talk to my parents about certain things. So I'm like, I'm going to make sure that I have this open line of communication. Now he will say some shit to me that I'm just like, I can't believe he's saying this
What'd
to
you
me.
just say?
Aside from that, I think he's pretty much will just kind of put on the table anything. So the boundaries are still a struggle. What's been the hardest part about watching him navigate his own life?
The hardest part about watching them navigate it? You go first on this one.
I think it's so hard already for young men. I think it's hard for young Black men. I think it's hard for introverts. So there's so many things that are just difficult or can be difficult to navigate in the world. And it already comes with so many environmental stressors that the normal stressors of trying to figure out your life path, where you're going to go, how you're going to do it is just, I think it could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And that breaks my soul because it's not just like all I have to do is figure out my life. I have to worry about if I go outside, if I go to certain areas, if I go to certain neighborhoods, especially in his music career. He has to be so mindful of all of these other things in addition to trying to make this work. Additionally, things are so much more expensive. Everything is expensive. Certain people, they selling CDs out of their trunk. They went across the country to go to New York or LA or Atlanta to try to figure it out. I'm not pushing for my son to do that. The cost is expensive too. All of the outside things that come with that is just so much. So I just feel like he has his life path, his journey. It would probably be easier if there weren't some other things. I just hate that he has to struggle in that way.
I'm in a position that I could put him on with a job that makes good money, and he's not interested in it. I could tell him, here's what I need you to do in order for me to put you in a position. Yes, it's in retail, and he's not a retail person. So that's a little bit frustrating for me because I feel like part of my job is to put him on. Outside of that, the people that I run into may be in different career fields like radio stations or whoever, but he doesn't show interest in it. And I get it. He has his own interest in the music career, but I'm a hustler. I've worked multiple jobs, done multiple things until I got to where I wanted. Even though I found myself in retail, I tried other stuff along the way. You got to try multiple things to even know what you're going to be good at. And most people are good at multiple things. Because he's an artist, a free thinker, and he's creative in the arts, that doesn't take away from your ability to be good at something else. There's multiple people out there who are successful entertainers who worked jobs while they did their craft. I'm not telling them to quit, but you could be good at something else, make really good money until the music thing pop off. Like, I don't see what the problem is for that because he's not interested in doing that. He just want to focus on that. And so from that standpoint, again, I struggle with that and I got to step back and say, okay, he's not interested in that. That's not what he wants to do. I got to respect that. I struggle with that because I'm like, bro, he could be making good money right now and doing the music on the side instead of just
You don't
doing
feel
the
like
music.
we've talked about this a few times too. I appreciate what you're saying, and you're right. You're a
You never know
hustler.
where that blessing
You're a
gonna come
hustler.
from.
You're a hustler in a different way. I also think I wouldn't be in the career field that I am in had someone told me, nurtured, helped me to understand what is it that you love? What is it that you are passionate about? Or if I had more entrepreneurs in my life. We both understand now the level of success that you really want to get to does not come from working for somebody else and building wealth within somebody else's company. You have to be an entrepreneur. You have to build your own wealth in that way. And he does have that entrepreneurial spirit, and he is pursuing things in that way. He has operated his own business for 5 years now. It depleted when we moved here. And so he's still working on that. So he's not, and I think, again, going back to the generational thing, a lot of these young people are like, I'm not working for anybody else. I'm not going to do something just to be doing it, and as a plan B. And I appreciate that because I honestly get up and like I'm much happier today than I've been in a long time in terms of my work. But if I didn't have to do that, I would not be doing that.
Yeah, but you gotta You got to be a
And when I
bulldog.
say that, I mean the career field.
But listen, as a young black man, you have to be a bulldog out here in these
Yeah.
streets. Like you have to be super aggressive, and you got to be willing to take on some jobs and responsibilities that you don't necessarily have passion
It's a
in. The means to an end, and
Agreed.
you could have a lot more income to put towards your craft if you just let somebody put you on and put you in a position
Yes.
where you can have that money.
It's not the end all be all.
Exactly.
And
So
we've
so
tried to say
it's that logic.
Agreed.
It's that
Agreed.
logic and it's that
Agreed.
thinking. It's like
I want this right here, right now. I'm only
right,
going to do
right,
certain things to get what I want. It's that generational thing.
right.
I
And
agree.
to me, I feel like he's shortchanging himself.
He has a lot more to offer and
Then
to
he
give.
gives himself credits for, and that he tries to really pursue.
Yeah.
And so I've met people, and I continue to meet people of influence in positions and leading other companies, and I could put him on with something that he's going to be making good money, and then he can do his music on the side, and that's just not where his attention is right now. So maybe it will come around one day. I don't know, but in the meantime, I got to just sit back and watch the show. And I'm like,
I mean, I don't think
I
it's a
kinda wanna-
matter of just sitting back and watching the show, because we are getting to this window of either this works or this doesn't. He's talked about this even recently. He's a family man. He wants to have a family, and he also has in his mind that he has this window for which certain milestones need to happen. I've said to him in those instances, you got to make sure that your own stuff is together. Like,
For
you got to
sure.
be able to support that. So
Exactly.
he's mindful of that. He's thinking about those things. So it's not like a sit back and watch the show. At some point, the rubber has to hit the road, and like one way or another, come hell or high water, either this is going to shake out or, and I think he's starting to see that, which is another whole other conversation, is that when somebody is so passionate about, and like he goes hard with this art and this work. I mean, it is constant 24/7. I would say probably 18 to 20 hours of the day, he is in some way, shape, or form working on that creative piece of it, without a doubt. Like, he doesn't play a whole lot. And so I do give him that. Let me ask you, what have we learned? And this is the final reflection of the hour. What have we learned about trust and letting go?
I'm still learning that. Still learning it. You just got to trust and let go. I can't stress myself out because he may not want to take the path that I see him taking. And everybody has to, as individuals, have that day of reckoning with themselves. Like, where's my passion at? What do I want to do? And you can't force people to do what they don't want to do. Even from the standpoint of just networking with people. Because if it was me and I was in the music business and I was doing these songs, I'd be out here at these venues trying to network with people, having meetings with people. Who determines what artists come here to perform? Like, anything that's got to do with artists. How many studios are doing different genres of music? Who's coming to these studios? Do y'all need any help around the studio? The grind, man.
Goes back to my point about the environmental thing. Yes, it's a grind, but it's also putting yourself in situations which I think, one, he's mindful of, and I'm also mindful of and not supporting. So it's got to be another avenue, which is why I'm like,
you got to be
social media,
selective.
social
I
media,
understand
social
that.
media. So, okay, yours is,
hold on,
you're
but
still
you got to
learning.
be selective in what you do. But the main thing is you have to get out here and make a name for yourself. You have to be seen. It's all networking. When you're dealing with people in any business, you have to master that network. You have to be able to start conversations and build rapport with people that you don't know, and you have to be comfortable doing that.
Which is why it's so difficult in this space. The career path that he is pursuing, the selection is limited. It's already small. And so 9 times out of 10 is putting you in an environment that is a little questionable. So it's not necessarily, so there's this balance in that. But in terms of, for me, and what have I learned about trust and letting go was a big challenge for me for many years. And sometimes there are things that trigger that letting go, that thing that I thought I let go. There's something that triggers and it resurfaces itself. So I think I'm still dealing and managing that in some ways. But the trust thing is just a matter of really a decision. Like, somebody is either going to do it or they're not going to do it. And I think I've always really been like that, if I'm being honest. So you just trust and you do your best to let it go. There's no point in harboring negative feelings because it takes a lot of energy. Those long days of not speaking or yelling, you just let it go.
But the other thing is, people got to realize life gives you back what you put into it. You can't wait for things to happen. You have to put into it. Life in this world will reward you for actions. It will reward you for putting in the work, not just behind the scenes. This is a life lesson for everybody listening. Whatever your grind is, you have to be confident and you have to network with people. You have to, because doors will open up through people. If you're not networking with people, the doors won't open up. It's impossible. Doors will open up, people will be placed in your life. And if you miss that door, you just miss it. It might not come just from somebody walking up to you. Sometimes it comes through other people. I meet people and I start talking to people, like for instance, and we won't get into the situation, but I've invited our son to an event that was going to have a lot of influential people there. Then I end up getting to the event. Obviously, he doesn't go. I get to the event and I'm talking to different people, and then come to find out they know somebody that could help him out in the music thing. And I'm like, I got to get their information. But how cool would it have been for him to be there to have that conversation one-on-one? Like, it's all about who you know. Everybody knows somebody that can help you out. And so when you're talking to people and you realize, like, oh, you know such and such, or you got a son or a daughter that does this, those are the type of conversations you got to get involved with so things can start to blossom. And you have to be able to recognize that until a person gets to that point where they realize the blessing is going to come through other people, and you have to be able to share with the world through conversation and what you do. That's when the breakthrough starts to happen. It happened for me like that. I see it happening for other people like that. The universe responds to stuff like that when you start to move in that direction. If you never start to move in that direction, the universe doesn't respond. That's just how it works.
That does it for another episode of
One more
Sippin'
thing.
with the Simpkins. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Give us any feedback, like, dislike, what you want more of. Tell
For
us
sure.
your experiences, like how you're managing young adult parenthood, your marriage, your identity, all of those things. We'd like to hear from you.
Go Buckeyes.
Peace.
That's why.
Building, balancing, and becoming.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're
And
building,
our
we're
reflection-
balancing,
and
and we're
our
trying to
refle-
figure it out.
Our reflection question was, what have we learned about trust and letting go? And you